So thank you all for coming out on this beautiful summer San Francisco day. I brought my sunglasses, but I don't think I'm going to need them here today. My name's Ed Riskin. I'm the Director of Public Works here in San Francisco, and very pleased to be here today despite the weather, and very grateful that you all came out despite of it, in spite of it as well. What we're here talking about today is really pretty momentous for San Francisco, and would be really anywhere under normal times. But given the economic climate in our state and our nation and around the world, it's all the more remarkable. The city of San Francisco, the land area of San Francisco, something like 25% of it is taken up by our public rights of way, our streets and sidewalks, which is mostly asphalt and concrete. It's really a big part of the city that we maybe don't necessarily always think of as part of our public realm, because often we're maybe just passing through it. But we're really very fortunate here in San Francisco that after really more than a generation, I would say, of neglect, that we now have leadership, we have a mayor, and we have a board of supervisors that understands the importance of the city's infrastructure and the public rights of way, which really comprise a pretty significant part of our city. And that understanding has been manifested in their financial commitment to investment in infrastructure, both to maintain and repair and upgrade it, but also to improve it. And what you're seeing here already, and what you're going to hear from some of our speakers, is just the latest example here on Leland. Is an example of that improvement. It's not just making sure the streets are paved, which is absolutely important, and making sure the sidewalks are in good condition, and that we have accessible curb cuts so that folks in wheelchairs and with other disabilities can access our public realm safely, but really enhancing the public realm. So it's not just for passing through as you whiz by in your car, but it's for being in and for enjoying. And I think Leland is really an excellent manifestation of that, really a world-class facility that we're bringing out to this neighborhood that I would say is long overdue. So the reason why all of this is happening is because we've had the leadership to make it happen and to drive it to happen. So we have a lot of folks here that I want to acknowledge, and a few folks are going to speak. But of course, I want to start with the person who's been driving this from before he became mayor, but certainly full-time since he's been mayor, Gavin Newsom.
Thanks, Ed. Thank you, guys. Thank you all for coming out. This is our 6th Great Street project. We had a vision a number of years ago to, I'll be candid, to be more like Chicago, an ode to Chicago. Anybody that's ever visited Chicago, you go down Michigan Avenue and everyone goes, why can't we be like Chicago? Of course, they don't go out into the neighborhoods. They just go down Michigan Avenue and they think the entire city and county of Chicago, or the Cook County around Chicago, all looks like Michigan Avenue. But nonetheless, it is something that vexes you, because you go, why can't we be more like Michigan Avenue? And so began the journey many years ago to say, what do we need to do differently in order to organize ourselves in a way where we can create great streets throughout our diverse commercial corridors and along the main entry points in and out of our city. We got together and we realized that there was a lot of money already being spent, but it wasn't being coordinated. It wasn't a collaborative. You didn't have the Arts Commission working with the Department of Public Works, working with the Public Utilities Commission, working with the Economic Development Office, working with our lobbyists at the state and federal level to match federal dollars and state dollars and local dollars so that we can organize a much more organized narrative. And that's what the Great Streets proposed to do. If you've been down to Visadero, you know what this effort has meant to that neighborhood. If you've been down to Lower Polk, you know what that's meant to Lower Polk. If you've been down to Valencia, where we just were a few weeks ago, it's extraordinary. The work that will be done soon in Balboa, the work that will be done down on 19th Avenue, and then the significant work that will be disproportionately supported by Ed Harrington and our friends at the PUC down Cesar Chavez will be equally extraordinary. So those will be the final 3 of those 9 Great Streets projects. But Leland and San Bruno were among the last two. And really, we're celebrating this today, but we're also celebrating those that we've completed in the past number of months and last few years. Why does this matter? Well, you'll hear from the merchants in a second why this matters. It creates a sense of place. It connects a streetscape with the neighborhood in a completely different way. It encourages and enlivens, I think, more of a pedestrian flow and more of a sense of community. It slows people down and it slows vehicles down. I have been through here probably 400 times, and if you think I'm exaggerating, I truly am not. I've spent too much time, and I say there's never too much time. Supervisor Maxwell will get upset with me, but a lot of time at the Sunnydale housing projects. And I say too much because the first few years I was mayor, I was down here for the wrong reasons, and that was because of the travails and the struggles and the frustration we had trying to deal with the issue of crime and violence, and coming down back and forth almost on a weekly basis to visit with some of the families that were victimized by that crime and violence. Of course, we started organize and celebrate with some tournaments, basketball, and some fairs and things, but nonetheless, this street needed help and support. I want to thank Supervisor Maxwell, though, in particular for her steadfastness and for her deliberativeness and her desire to see that we did not forget Visitation Valley. She was the first to remind us what happened in 1999 when Schlegelach went down and what impact that had on the neighborhood, the commercial corridor, etc. And here we are, not only celebrating her vision and leadership and celebrating this occasion with all these brand new lights and these 60+ trees and all the new curb cuts and all the new landscaping that's been done and this great piece of public art, which we'll talk about in a moment, and the neighborhood marketplace initiative that we incorporated in this, where we got facade improvement loans and we encouraged 9 new businesses to come down to the vacant storefronts. But we'll also soon be celebrating 1,250 units of new housing. Tens of thousands of square feet of retail, a new grocery store. Yes, finally. Down here, that will be put into the old Schlegelach site, and all the new open space that will connect that great 3rd Street light rail and all the streetscape improvements that we see that separate the two sites. So I just think this is the beginning of a renaissance down here. And I'm just grateful for all of the help, stewardship, and leadership of those that are assembled that made this possible, and the community leadership that's also assembled here today to hold us accountable to these promises we made. Final thing I want to mention. We are investing an historic amount of money, and I thank Ed Rieskin for his good work. It's tough work to repave our streets and improve our sidewalks and our thoroughfares. This year, over $50 million will go in to repave our streets. This is an historic amount of money. And I say that, you say, well, big deal. Why is he bringing that up? Well, it is a big deal in this economic climate that we're actually putting more money than we ever have to do something that all of you know we need to do. And we're not backing away from that commitment. Over $68.5 million will be invested in significant and tangible ways to improve the streetscapes of this city, including the sidewalks, not just our streets, in this next fiscal year. So I'm very, very proud of that. It really reinforces the commitment that we're making to beautify the city and county of San Francisco. So that's why I'm here, to thank you all for your patience, to the businesses that didn't really know if this was going to help or hurt them. I think it helps, I know it helps, until you renegotiate your leases. And then the landlord's going to say, well, you know, the street's not better, and they may actually, so we got to worry about that. So I apologize for those rental negotiations, may be a little tougher. But that's the price, right, of investment, is everybody kind of benefits. But nonetheless, you're the first beneficiary after this long construction process. And again, to the community, because I, again, think this helps the residents, not just the commercial corridor, create a sense of place and identity. Job well done. And finally, all come back out here. Don't just come here today. What do you have? Your fifth Streets Festival this Sunday, the 19th. Come on down to Leland. Take Muni. Take Caltran. Take your bike. Get out and jog. Walk down here. But this will be the 5th street fair you guys have put together, and congratulations, because that's really what it takes, is that strong, cohesive commitment to keep the energy going, to keep these things people's consciousness front and center. A very important part of the fabric of San Francisco, Visitation Valley, a part of the city that we have not forgotten, a part of the city we must not neglect for years and years to come. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, both for your remarks, but really for the leadership. That is why we're all able to have these events over and over again to trumpet the good work that we're able to do here in San Francisco that very few, if any, other places around the country are able to do, particularly in these times. And just to reinforce, a record amount of money going into street resurfacing this year in San Francisco, augmented by additional funds for streetscape improvements, sidewalk repairs. And two points on that. One is that not only are we getting our infrastructure repaired and improved and enhanced, but we're also creating jobs in the process. So at a time when many people need them most, we're putting people to work as well. So we not only get better streets and rights of way as a benefit, but we get people working, a point not to lose in this infrastructure investment. One other point, that it's not just local funds, and it's a heavy lift. It's not easy for the mayor and the board in this kind of climate to make the commitment to put aside the local funds needed to keep this work moving. But what those local funds do, as well as a lot of planning and coordination between all the different city departments, is it makes us competitive for federal funds. And part of this project and many other projects, including some that we've just been awarded through the federal government, are bringing millions of additional dollars into San Francisco. And again, it's because of the leadership of the mayor and the board getting the city agencies together to coordinate, to plan, so that when we go and compete against other cities and states, we're competitive, and those dollars are coming to San Francisco. So thanks again to that leadership. I think with regard to our legislative branch, I think the mayor set it up well. In this community, you have and have had for the last 7 3/4 years or so, a very strong advocate, and your supervisor, someone with whom I know my department and the other city departments finds a great ally on the board, someone that helps us serve the needs of this community. This project is just one of many. We have a new library down the street, also representing some of the efforts of your supervisor. So I'd like to ask Sophie Maxwell to come up and say a few words.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. First and foremost, I have to thank the Viz Valley community, because they have been on the forefront of planning. We have been planning I've been in office about 10 years. Fran Martin, one of the community leaders, has been there with us, and we've been planning for a long time. Our streets, the library, of course, our Greenway, the Viz Valley Greenway, which is known all over this city, and just continues down. And that planning and that Greenway is going to influence what happens at Slage Lock. This community has been involved from the very beginning, talking about what they wanted to see and how they wanted to see it. The merchants have been there with us all the way. We talked about what they needed to have things so that they could work well, what they needed to make things work while we were doing the streetscape. And they were right there all the way, encouraging people to come and to continue to come. And I can't say enough about all of the city agencies. A lot of people that that work for our city also live in our city, and they live in our neighborhoods, and they care about the places they work for and they work in. And I think a lot of that you'll see as we go forward, because of all of the work and the hard work that they've done. So I am so excited today. I'm excited for the Viz Valley community. The library is amazing. And that's because community and people had a lot to do with it. The center is really off the hook, real different. So come and see, and you'll get a taste of Viz Valley. The Greenway is really, I have to thank the PUC, because a lot of the property that they used came from the PUC. And so again, I want to thank all of the community and all of the folks that made this happen. It was really a city effort to make Viz Valley the place that it is and that it's going to be. Thank you again. Thank you, Fran. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Marlene Tran, for all of your work.
Thank you, and thank you, Supervisor Maxwell, for your leadership. If it weren't for her, I don't think we'd be here today, and you wouldn't see the library and the other things happening in this neighborhood. We've had a couple references to the Public Utilities Commission, and on the face of it, you may say, well, what do they have to do with any of this? A few points on that. One is that while we're talking about a lot of our surface infrastructure here today and the investments we're making, a lot of the condition of our infrastructure is dependent on the condition of the infrastructure that's underneath it, our water and wastewater lines, and those are managed by the PUC. And as our infrastructure fails, it impacts them and vice versa. So we've been working very closely together with them as they've been ramping up their infrastructure repair. We've been ramping up ours. We actually benefit each other when we can coordinate and join, and we can get all of the infrastructure repaired with less money and with less disruption. And so we've been making great headway in that regard. But specific to this project, what you're seeing here is not just beautiful and inviting and attractive and functional in terms of mobility, but it has some additional functionality in terms of its environmental performance, specifically with regards to stormwater management. That is, I hope this is probably our single biggest to date effort in that regard, and I hope that it's the first, or I expect to know that it will be the first of many to come. So to speak to infrastructure, my infrastructure partner in the city, but particularly for their efforts and their contributions and making this really an environmental leader as far as projects go, I'd like to ask the general manager of the PUC, Ed Harrington, to come up and say a few words.
Thank you very much, Ed. I'm happy to be out here. This is not the Leland I grew up with coming out here. It looks so nice. Walking down the street here for a few blocks, the place is big and beautiful, and it looks so wonderful to be here. I'm happy to be here as part of the PUC. We gave a lot of advice to DPW as they were working on this. I'm so proud of the DPW's work. Happy to be here with the mayor and Supervisor Maxwell and the partners in the community to make this something. A few facts about why it's so important to us. You see these lights here, those are LED lights, providing better light for the community, and it saves 60% of the electricity it would take to light normal street lights. This sidewalk, and there's only a few blocks here you're talking about, but the permeable pavement that you see in the sidewalk and the parking area, that means 500,000 gallons of water per year that used to go into our wastewater treatment plant won't. It'll stay here, it'll go back into the groundwater, it will recharge the groundwater, it can be used for other things. You do that and replicate it across the city, and you can change the way that we treat stormwater in San Francisco. The size of our facilities, the amount of money we spend on pumping the water, all that stuff starts to change. In our wastewater improvement program, we are looking at trying to take 1% of the city per year and take it from hardscape to this kind of look, with these swales, with the permeable pavement, all that kind of thing. It'll make a dramatic change in San Francisco. And as you walk along here, please take a look. There's some fairly kind of fun things you don't see most places. This swale kind of discussion, we're talking about the bioremediation basins. You can see the stormwater runs down the street. It just moves over into a nice planted area. As much as possible goes down into the groundwater. And what doesn't go down there just comes right back out. It doesn't flood anything, and it goes right into the sewer system. Easy, straightforward, but it makes the place beautiful, and it makes a big difference to us. So this is the face of the future of San Francisco. We're going to be monitoring this a lot for the next year to make sure that you can do the maintenance we need, that it performs well, and that it's sustainable, because we're doing this all over San Francisco. You're our test case. We need to make sure this works for you so it works for the rest of us, and thanks very much for being here.
Thanks. I think Ed brought the rain with him just to demonstrate that the stormwater management system is actually functional. I want to acknowledge Barbara Hale, who's in charge of the power portion of the PUC. I see Marla Jarosik here, who's the kind of stormwater management guru. They've been working closely with our staff to make this project and others like it happen. There's a lot of other city departments and agencies that we work with, and other government departments that we work with. The Metropolitan Transportation Commission, I want to acknowledge Doug Johnson, the Transportation Authority under the direction of Jose Luis Moscovich, Caltrans, Jimmy Panmei and Hing Kung, the Planning Department, I see Adam Verrett here, the Better Streets Plan guru of the city, the MTA, Al Hurst and Lauren Slingsby have worked on this project. We work very closely with the MTA on all these projects. I see Crezia and Amy here from the Office of Economic Development. A lot of different folks work together to make these projects happen, and so I want to make sure to acknowledge them. One that I haven't yet mentioned, though it's been referenced, has to do with public art. Public works is, typically a profession of civil engineers and, hard, tough stuff, pipes and asphalt and concrete. But we realize that in order to really make these projects attractive and inviting, that public art can really be an important element to do that, to complement the great work that our landscape architects do. And so I want to ask Jill Manton from the Arts Commission to come up and say a few words about the beautiful public art that you may have noticed.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. Congratulations to the residents of Visitation Valley on your beautiful new streetscape. I want to say that it has been a pleasure to collaborate with our colleagues from DPW and PUC on this project. And I also want to say the reason you have public art is that 40 years ago, San Francisco was on the edge of cutting public policy even then by having the vision to enact a % for art legislation, which ensures that public art is part of every new building, every new park, every transportation project. And we set an example. Other cities across the nation have followed. There are now hundreds and hundreds of programs like this. So that's why we have public art included in this project. I would like to specifically talk about the project that was done by Rebar, the artist team of Rebar. Through their temporary work that they've done in the past, they've made an indelible mark on the city's cultural landscape by beautifying and improving the livability of our city through their inventive, unique, humorous, and sustainable art installations. I mentioned that those were temporary. This, however, is their first ever permanent public art installation, and we're very proud to have it here on Leland Avenue. From their Victory Garden in the Civic Center, which took place a couple of years ago, to Parking Day, which has now become an international event, originating in San Francisco. Again, we are a leader. Other cities across the world are following us. Rebar's artwork challenges us to contemplate a more sustainable future where street furnishings and vehicles of today may be the art materials of tomorrow. And what strikes me about them is that they take the ordinary and mundane, such as the uniformly abhorred parking meters, and can turn it into an extraordinary work of art. Who would have ever thought that a cluster of used parking meters could end up being so whimsical and so beautiful and welcoming? Unfortunately, we don't have Rebar's founder, Matthew Passmore, here with us today because he happens to be in Paris inaugurating their first parking day, which, as I said, was started here in San Francisco. So again, we're leading the way. And he sends his regrets and wanted me to convey how much he enjoyed working with the community residents of Visitation Valley. So Rebar's sculpture, if you haven't seen it, you can't miss it. It's just down the street on the corner of Leland and Bayshore. Looks like stalks of organically grown street furniture. It's composed using the very vernacular of the street, surplus parking meters, heads, which were painted dark orange, which were attached to tall arching poles. The sculpture's natural form was intended to reference the neighborhood's pastoral and agricultural past. And according to the artist, the sculpture is meant to mark this particular moment in time as the neighborhood undergoes a very positive transition into the future. Rebar, if you look closely at the sculpture, you'll see that he's incorporated 8 text elements into the sculpture stalks. So you'll see the words Visitation Valley, and accompanied by words such as grow, thrive, nurture, prosper, cultivate, and flourish. And they're all written in the diverse languages that reflect the population and demographics of our community's residents. I also want to commend our Arts Commission staff, Mary Chu and Eleanor Beaton, who very effectively competently managed this project from start to finish. And in particular, I want to thank community members Marlene Tran and Ann Seaman, who donated their valuable time to help us in the selection process. And, of course, the Municipal Transportation Agency, who donated the used parking meters so we could turn refuse into artwork. And lastly, someone who hasn't been acknowledged, who really deserves to be acknowledged, or who's been acknowledged in passing but hasn't been acknowledged for her very valuable contribution to the artwork of this whole community, is Fran Martin and her husband, Jim Groudon, who have volunteered their time without any compensation from the city, volunteered their time, effort, their materials to beautify the neighborhood in various ways through beautiful tile works that you see, through gateways, through railings, so through butterfly and dragonflies. So thank you for your beautiful work. What a gift to the city and a gift to the neighborhood, and glad I have this opportunity to thank you publicly. So in concluding, I'll just say that we hope that visitors and residents to downtown Visitation Valley will enjoy our exuberant art bouquet for generations to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jill. So this whole project obviously is a great benefit to all of San Francisco, but the primary beneficiaries are the folks right here in Viz Valley, particularly right along this corridor. And as the primary beneficiaries, they were also the ones who suffered the most as we were getting this work done. It was, as you can see, is a pretty significant construction project. And just like a major renovation would be in your home, a little bit disruptive, this was a little bit disruptive, and we understand that and appreciate the support and patience of the merchants and residents of Leland and the surrounding streets as we undertook this process. We worked very hard on all these projects to minimize any adverse impact, but we all recognize there's going to be some, but it's limited in time, and from here forward, it's nothing but good times and hopefully not significant rent raises for the folks. But I want to ask one of the leaders from the community who's been working with us all along, who's been a booster of the community for a long time and will continue to be, that helped us working with the merchants, representing the merchants in that community, to come up. Nick Wolf from BB Boom.
Thank you, Ed. This is a new day on Leland Avenue in downtown Visitation Valley. This is great. So it's usually a lot sunnier here. This is the sunniest neighborhood in the city of San Francisco. But I'd like to thank Mayor Newsom and Supervisor Maxwell for their leadership, commitment in securing the $4+ million bond that led to the creation of this beautiful state-of-the-art streetscape that we're here celebrating. Department of Public Works staff and project managers on the ground have worked really hard to keep this project moving, and it actually finished slightly ahead of schedule. So I think they should definitely be acknowledged for their hard work. Chris Oprek, Alex Murillo, John Dennis, thank you guys. The fact that they made themselves available to attend our merchant meetings and were so attentive and patient, fielding an endless barrage of questions from a lot of these small business owners was great. They were real partners in this, and I really thank them for that. The merchants themselves along Leland Avenue, I think I'd like to thank them. I think we owe them a big debt of gratitude. There's over 50 merchants in this commercial district, and they are the heart of this neighborhood. Every day they wake up early and leave late and make sure we have fresh fruit, we have affordable medicine. In my case, I'm able to get a cup of coffee and some dim sum for lunch every day. And I see a lot of them are here too right now. JB from the shop is here. Ken from the Dragon City Aquarium is here, and this is good. This is a good day. I feel good about it. And they've weathered a real storm, like the mayor mentioned before, the Schlage Lock factory across Bayshore. Obviously, the economic slump didn't help things, and we're thrilled to stand here today on a new and improved Leland Avenue. And this will only serve to bring the economic vitality back to our street. It's been quite a year down here. The future has never looked brighter for downtown Visitation Valley. VV Boom, the is a program that works hard to bring in resources and programming to the community. So I'd like to just thank some people that are on my steering committee that I see here: Russell Marine, Edie Epps, Molly Hassler, Betty Partial, Tony Zernick, Neo, ton of volunteers, and everybody. You guys make my job a lot easier. And you know, we're a part of the mayor's neighborhood marketplace initiative program. We partner with the Local Initiative Support Corporation and the Office of Economic and Workforce Development. And you know, we work with small business owners, and we bring events to the community. And we do have one coming up Sunday, so I'm hoping everybody comes back for our big party, the Leland Avenue Street Fair. There are postcards everywhere. Please take one and tell your friends. We were pretty thrilled to land Latin jazz legend Pete Escovedo that's going to be coming out and performing. It's a pretty big deal. We're pretty happy to have him. So there's going to be a lot of, you know, homegrown artists, musicians, chefs. Children's area, we're going to have the SF Urban Riders and our partners at Jumpstart over in the Bank of America parking lot. And thanks everyone that made this streetscape a reality. You know, I hope to see you guys back here on Sunday, but not just Sunday. I mean, I would hope people kind of make, you know, this gateway to San Francisco a part of their, you know, their shopping routine, and come back down here and support these business owners. And thanks you guys. Thanks again.
Thanks, Nick. I was going to say exactly the same thing. Not only before you leave today should you stop in and patronize one of these businesses, and not only should you come back Sunday, but you should come back. Think of Leland, think of Viz Valley as one of our great and thriving, up-and-coming commercial districts in the city. It's really a special and unique place, and worthy of all of our patronage as we go forward. So finally, before we cut the ribbon, I do want to just take a moment to acknowledge just a few of the many Department of Public Works employees who have worked hard on this project, in some cases for years. So if you'll just indulge me to go quickly, Nick already mentioned John Dennis, our landscape architect, who along with Martha Ketterer, Irma Javinpa, Nick Ansell, Steve O'Sullivan, Deanna Calleros, Danny Wong and Thomas Wan, our engineering crew who put this together. On the construction management side, I see Joe Chung is here, Wally Wong is here, Jim Timonaire, Sam Chung, and of course Alex Maria, who I think I saw limping. I hope that wasn't from one of these community meetings. But these are the folks who worked with our contractor, McGuire and Hester, to get this work done. I want to thank them for that. And last but most, the woman who manages the Great Streets program, who has taken the mayor's vision and the board's policy directive for great streets and actually put it into practice so that we see these projects here, manages all of these projects, including the upcoming Better Market Street, our project manager, Chris Oprek. Let's give her a big hand. And if there's anyone I missed, accept my apologies, but know my gratitude is there. And with that, we will cut the ribbon.
All right. I saw scissors, no ribbon. There it is. Get in here, friend. Get in here. All right. All right, we'll do 5, 4, 3. Oh, no. That was really bad. Everybody, we'll start with 5. Okay, you ready? We're doing it. Yeah. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thanks, everyone. Except cutting.